Hello, sinners, saints, and fellow glories of men and my fellow ribs. For you guys as well. Monday has become my 75 hard day, where I kind of discuss 75 hard a little bit. And if today is looking a little bit different, that's because I'm actually filming at midday rather than the early afternoon. So if you can see my little son's butt occasionally jump into camera or his head bobbing across, that's probably why. But today I wanted to talk about kind of, in my opinion, the toughest aspect of 75 hard and how to overcome it. I've done 75 hard stacks of times. I started it in late 2019 when the founder, Andy Frisella, was still on his first round. I think he was like on his final day or two when I started it. And so I've done it many times over the years, and I've found it to be super, super helpful. Even just doing it for short stints at a time. I know that's very scandalous to say, but I think it's also served to be very helpful. Now, I failed for many, many different reasons, and I've also succeeded a few times as well. And it's interesting because I failed for different times in different ways. There's just been a range of different ways that I failed. For example, the first time I ever did it, I actually did 75 hard the first try, smashed it out, and I was on phase 1. And because I lived on a farm at that time, we ran out of water, and so I couldn't do my cold shower. So that was the first time why I ever failed. Second time was I was on holiday, managed to do everything else, and then the next day I woke up and I was like, oh, drats. I didn't take my selfie. And I'd taken other photos of myself throughout the day. But the program's about intentionality. And I hadn't done that the day before. And so I failed that day. There's been a litany of other issues as well. Sometimes I've just gotten to the end of the day and I've only drunk 500 mils of water. And I'm like, no way. I would be poisoning myself if I tried to get this done in the next 2 hours. There's been a range of reasons. But I would say... at the end of last year, I had a really good stint going. If you were following me on Instagram, you would have seen it. The reason I failed was because I missed 3 pages of my reading. I was on day 64. So there's another thing as well. The program, if you don't know, it has 5 daily tasks. 1, 2... 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outdoors regardless of the conditions. Number 2, drinking of about 1 gallon of water, which ends up being about 3.875 Australian litres, I think. Number 2, reading 10 pages of a non-fiction book every single day. Number 3, taking a progress photo. And number 4, excuse my maths, number 5, following a diet of some form every single day. And the program's rather flexible. You can do it at different stages of your life, but undeniably, the hardest part of the program for me has always been the water. By far. There is no other task that I struggle with as much. If it wasn't for the water, the program would be relatively easy in my opinion. So I wanted to share a few tips on how to conquer the water aspect of 75 hard, because for me, and I know for many other people, that is where we just failed. And some people don't find the water an issue. I saw a post from one lady. She was like, does anyone actually find the water component really easy? Like, I actually drink twice that amount in a day. And I was like, teach me your ways. Which reminds me, some more water. Here's a few tips that I've gathered over the years as to help your water drinking during 75 hard. Number 1, microwaving the water. I've heard pretty much, I am someone who is fanatically, incredibly pro cold water, like ice cold. I want to almost have ice shards in my throat while drinking my water. But I've learned that's not actually very conducive to making sure that your water gets done throughout the day. So one recommendation I've heard is not only having room temperature water, but hot water or slightly warmer water is a way of getting it done. Another one is doing water sprints. That's a big thing that I do. If I've gotten to the end of the day and I've still got 2 liters left, what I'll do is I'll set a timer for 1 minute, and the timer goes off. I do 10 big gulps, and then I rest for the next 50 seconds. Of course, you're going to need a pee after. Of course, you need to be taking lots of electrolytes while doing it. But that's one way of doing it. People are very insistent on getting 4 to 8 ounces every hour. Kudos to them. I'm just not that kind of person. I really struggle with consistency, and hopefully that's something that I'll eventually learn throughout 75 Hard. But I'm just trying to get a few other coping mechanisms down pat in the meantime. Another really helpful thing is the bottle that it's in. Whether you have a gallon drum left out and you put that in a cup throughout the day so you can slowly see how you're going, or if you do 4 1-litre bottles, I tend towards the 4 1-litre bottles because I find it easier to transport. Hey, no. Also being aware of what you put your water in. Plastic is not ideal for carrying water. You'd want to tend towards tin, or if possible potentially glass bottles, even though they're not as durable and a little bit more dangerous. Another one as well, maybe not doing it in a 10-minute sprint, maybe doing it over an hour. So each hour, when I look at the clock, and whatever that ends at that 10-minute interval, I've got to scull again for another, say, 30 or 60 seconds. So it's 21 past right now. So at the one of each 10 minutes of the hour, I go for another big scull. Obviously, the ideal is getting down that 4 to 8 ounces every hour. That's the absolute ideal. But for those who are not that way inclined like me, hopefully these are a few little tips to help your 75 Hard journey be a little bit easier. As always, I would highly recommend joining the official Facebook group. It is a little bit intense for some people, but I found it very helpful over the years and very encouraging. In the meantime, grace and peace from our Lord and Savior, and I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow.